Hello, welcome to my show that's hosted by Unique Voices and Films and the Path of Consciousness. My guest today is Jaya Tatum. Did I say it right?
Tatum.
Tatum. She's known as Jaya the Healer. I am so happy to have you here today. I have known you for quite some time, but the way we connected is because I discovered one day on Facebook, a friend of ours shared your information, the healing work that you do on Facebook.
Right.
And when I went and checked your Facebook page, I thought, oh my goodness, she is friends with all my women friends from Lenvy Andrews.
Right.
So I was intrigued, and I sent you a note and said, how do you know all these women? And then I learned that you had been in the school, and from then on, we have connected. This has been a while.
We've had many connections.
Many connections. Which, one of the things that I love when I come over is the stories that you share, which have to do with your background. You have a very, very interesting background. So I am just going to let you talk about yourself and how you got involved in this work, which even how long, I know you've been doing this for a very long time. I want to mention one other thing that's very interesting is that I had two very dear teachers, a Native American teacher by the name of Chip and his partner Susan. And then I learned that you knew them as well and that Susan was your student. And I thought,
I know. I have pictures of her young, and you have photos of her with gray hair. So she was my student, and she became your teacher. And we never crossed paths until now.
So tell us about your background.
Okay. Well, I was working for General Motors for 15 years. I was always interested in self-development, self-awareness, so I read many books on that and went to seminars trying to improve my life. And what I realized in most of those, in the books and the people talking about the books, is you need to know what you don't know. You need to know what's in the subconscious in order to heal. And I thought, well, how do you know what you don't know? You know, you could go to a therapist and they can help you, but they only know what you tell them. You can ask the family what they experienced, but everybody sees things differently. So I decided, I was just thinking, pacing the floor, wondering about things out loud. So I decided there's one who knows everything. So I decided to ask the one who knows. And I decided also not to ask about the stories of my life, but the resulting feelings. And I created a prayer, and it was, Holy Spirit, heal the part of my mind that desires these feelings that I'm not in touch with. So I called it the part of my mind because, of course, part of me doesn't want to feel these sad or depressing or angry feelings. But apparently part of me has a secret desire, I call it, to feel it. So I decided not to ruminate into that. It gets very depressing when you look into your story. I just said the prayer, and within 2 weeks, I knew where that certain feeling that I had started. For instance, I had had epilepsy for 21 years on medication. I did that prayer, and I had a remembrance, like a vision of me at 10 years old. My father was an alcoholic, and he'd come home at 3 a.m. and wake me up, and I'd hear him come down the hall, and that hall light would go on, and I knew what was going to happen. So this happened a lot, so I began to make a noise in my ears that sounded like the seashell, and that's kind of what epilepsy feels like. I had petit mal. So I didn't have it till later in life. So he'd come down and wake me up and ask about what I did that day. Did I do housework? And he'd beat me, you know. So this happened quite a few nights a week. So I began to make that noise in my head so that I wouldn't hear him. And also, I would call for help from my mother to tell him that I'm a good girl. I didn't do those things. I did clean the house. I did do my work. And she would not help me. So now I'm at work at where we used to work, and I was threatened with rape. And I had a lot of fear, of course, and all I could remember, I had fear, anxiety, anger after that, after I reported it, and there was a lot of repercussions, and they hired a private investigator. So there was a lot of fear and anger, and so I took those feelings, and I all I could remember was that prayer. And I began to see the relationship between what happened to me at 10 years old, at home, down that hall, and at work, and the relationship in the feelings. Because at my job, I was the only woman working among men. So they decided to ruin my reputation, you know, make it that I had a bad reputation, which I didn't. So I began to see the relationship when I said that prayer at work. This was happening in present time. I didn't have the memory of that 10-year-old yet. When I did that prayer, I had that memory. And my words then were, but I'm a good girl. And my words at work were, but I'm a good girl. I use that word girl. And saying that prayer brought that memory. The minute I had that memory, I knew why most of my life I wanted to defend myself, but I'm a good person, I'm a good woman, I'm a good student. And it came from that trauma at 10 years old. The minute I saw that, I had dreams, 3 dreams of a teacher like flying toward me with her finger, that if I don't take my pill, I would be ill. And then in my dream I said, but I'm not ill. Then the next night she come flying toward me, just her head, and it was a teacher, of course. So she said, if you don't take your pill, you will be ill. And I spoke out loud, but I'm not ill, and woke myself up. Then the third night she came flying close to me with a finger. If you don't take your pills, you will be ill. But this time I sleepwalked and got out of bed and reached for my pills and threw them away and woke myself up saying, but I'm not ill. And why did 3 different ways? And I thought, well, first comes the thought, the thinking, then comes the inside words or out loud, and then standing up and taking action. So it taught me so much. As time went on, I began having dreams and visions. The more I said that prayer, the more that feelings healed. I began to feel and see the thoughts in other people's bodies. But I didn't think I should do that. And I didn't even call it healing. I knew about healers, but I didn't want to be one. But I couldn't shake hands or touch anyone without hearing or knowing what was wrong with them and what was happening.
So I have a few questions. First, why do you think your mother did not help at that time?
She was in complete denial. Many years during my healing, and my mother, when she was, she never helped. She hid in the closet, and she would tell me, he never hits me, you know. When things happen and I tell her, she would tell me I read too many books and I made it up. So one time she was living with me, and she was in her maybe 75, and I was going to a spiritual counselor or a regular therapist, And she said, you have to tell your mother what happened to you, because I did have worse incidents. And you have to tell her. And I said, I can't do that. She's old. I'm a lot older than her now. But so I went to a spiritual counselor knowing she's not going to tell me to do that with my mother at this age. And so I had an appointment with her and told her what my therapist said, that I have to confront my mother at this age of what happened to me. And so I'm sitting there and telling her I have to do that. And the spiritual counselor bursts out crying. And she said, I just did this with my own mother. You have to do this. And you're going to see one of two things. She's going to say, I'm sorry, and accept that that happened. Or she's going to go in complete denial, and you're going to see her just transform to that younger age of when she didn't help you. So when I got home, I was on a retreat to Unity Village when I saw that spiritual counselor. My mother was living with me. When I got home with my suitcases, right away my mother said, sit down, watch this movie. And so I sat down with her, and it was about a father, a husband and a wife and a daughter. The wife, the mother of the daughter, put her husband in jail for sexually abusing the daughter. And the father reformed in jail and was coming out, and the mother was letting him move back home with the daughter and her. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm sitting next to my mother watching this. And my mother turned to me and said, oh, I would never do that to you. And oh my God, I said, you did do that to me. And so I told her what happened to me. And I saw her just transform into this young mother in complete denial. And all she said was, I don't remember. And I don't know why she did and acted like she did, but I saw it in her face, and forgiveness just entered.
Oh, that's powerful.
I cannot explain it.
That's so it provided what you needed.
It
regardless
did.
of her response.
Yes, I was surprised. But to watch her just literally transform, into that 40-some-odd-year-old woman that knew nothing and did not help, So I realized that during those years of abuse and things, I had to raise my antenna very high to look for danger. I had to use my intuition to read the eyes of strangers, make sure I wouldn't get hurt. I had to pray a lot. I only had God that I could talk to. So it was a tool that I use today. My antenna, my intuition. Also, I had to leave my body. There were other things that happened when I was young, that have since healed.
And then after you had the dreams, which obviously with regards to the pills.
I never had another incident again, or never had to take medication. And I had it for 21 years. And other things began to heal as I did that prayer when I noticed my feelings.
Can you repeat that prayer now? I'm so intrigued by that. I want to hear. Can you repeat that?
Well, I created the prayer. First of all, I used the word Holy Spirit instead of God. I don't ask God for help because everything I read says God thinks I'm perfect. So why ask him to improve me? But I have my belief that the Holy Spirit works on this earth and helps things with us for only one reason, and that's to bring us into love and close to God. So I use Holy Spirit. Heal the part of my mind that desires this feeling, and I name it anger, grief, frustration, and I add that I'm not in touch with. So I use the words part of my mind because, of course, the other part of my life, I'm happy. I desire joy and fun. But somehow there's depression once in a while, or anger pops in. So I call it a desire. So that's, to me, a hidden desire. I must desire it. It's there. So I don't kid myself. It's a personal desire. So, Holy Spirit, heal the part of the mind that desires this feeling. And then I add that I'm not in touch with, so I don't ruminate. That creates more anger, more depression, more stories in my head, on and on. So I said the prayer, I give it up. I do not ruminate into my problems. Within 2 weeks, I will know where that feeling originated from. And it'll go back to a story of my past. And I'll realize that if I don't have depression, but I'll use that word, or anger, I'll realize where it started.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it through every story. All stories different, same feeling. And when I can see that, and I began to see things more quickly when things happened to me, and I said that prayer, I could see the past and the present at the same moment. And I began having dreams, visions, sleepwalking. The more I did this, I healed knee pain that I had for 8 years that they told me to just live. It had been crushed, and to just live with it. Family problems were in there. So I began to know what problems were in what part of the body. One of my visions, if you want to go further with that, I began to sleepwalk. But I would wake up, but not really. It would be 3 o'clock in the morning, but to me, bright sunshine was out. And I would get up and go sit at my dining table. And Yogananda was there, Jesus, Babaji, and another one. And they would tell me what thoughts are held in which part of the body. And then I would wake up, and it was pitch dark, and I don't know what happened to me. Now, these people that sat there at my table, they were like in the flesh. It wasn't a vision type thing. So I was taught, and this went on for months. I would get up, it would be broad daylight, but it was 3 in the morning.
Were you still at GM during that time?
Yes.
You were. And so when this was happening, did you start feeling that you were being called to do a different type of work?
I didn't call it work. I didn't call it anything. I didn't know what was happening to me. I had to go to a therapist because I thought, well, I could be psychotic or very holy, having dreams and visions and sleepwalking. To me, I thought, but I feel really wonderful. I don't feel mentally ill, but I didn't know what was happening. Mm-hmm. So with the things that were happening at work, I did have a lawyer, and they had me see a therapist before we followed through. So you can imagine what I went through at work, So I created so many prayers for me, and my whole life healed. My whole life. And the more that healed, then I could feel like even if I shook hands with somebody or touched them, they began telling me their life story. And I worked with all men. I remember touching someone for some reason, and them telling me, a man telling me how he was sexually abused as a child, and then he walked away. And I thought, does he know what he just said? So things began to happen. Mm-hmm. And other things, other stories, many things, sort of coincidences. I'd be around somebody and something would happen, and they talked about healing. I began to see the light coming out of my hands, and I didn't know about light. I was at General Motors, and I had never been, not even been touched yet, and I had a healing the day before. They called it a massage, but during that I saw my whole life go before my eyes, from childbirth till present time, and I saw why I was the way I was, and I could change it. And So,
I mean, did that cause you to feel like at what point? Because right now you do healing work,
I
and I
do
just
healing.
before
At
the
what
time
point did I start doing it?
yes, but let's just mention also for people that want to learn more about your work.
Okay.
So it's Jaya's Healing Body Work. You're on Facebook.
Yes, Jaya Tatum on Facebook, Healing Body and Mind with Jaya on Facebook.
Hmm. And if you can give your phone number, because sometimes we get so into
Oh,
these
yeah, I'm
conversations,
sorry.
and I no, and I want people to be able to connect because I know you've been doing this. So now, if you
Yes.
give your phone number, and then you can share with us, when did you start opening your home to so many
Yes.
different teachings? I mean, like
Yes.
we said, my previous teacher was taught by you. I've gotten sessions in your house, and you
Well,
have the fire ceremony, which we will discuss in the second segment because we won't have time here.
yes.
What is your phone number that people can
My phone number to get in touch with me for healing, massage, cranial-sacral therapy is 248-464-2049. My webpage is www.jayasbodywork.com. I've been doing the work for over 30 years now.
Wow.
I studied as much as I could, everything, to learn about what was happening, and it didn't matter what I studied. I kind of could see and knew the ancient healings. And so I teach Tibetan work, Sakeem, Reiki. I teach how to do acupressure on the body, meridian work. I heal the body by using the colors of the organs um, and enhancing them, and I can see the overload in the organs and what it is, and I can take that out. I teach that as well.
When you first started out, how did you feel comfortable to start in this work? Because it seems you also have to make yourself vulnerable, and it's a big responsibility to do something like that. Um, how did you prepare for it, or did you feel like it was such a strong calling that there was no choice almost in the process?
It was a strong calling and no choice. I had no fear. I didn't. It didn't bother me. I didn't need to prove anything. Um, I couldn't help it anyway. It was happening where I touched people. I went and learned everything I could about healing. I took many classes. As I practiced healing before I really put out, I also had to go to massage school because when I did a healing, I began moving the bones and the muscles, and I didn't think I should do that. So I learned anatomy and physiology. I learned cranial-sacral work and advanced work, and every advanced class I could take.
So you were really preparing yourself for this. It wasn't a matter of, okay, because I
No,
healed myself, I'm going to just open up myself to
no.
healing others. You really invested.
I'm a practical person, even though I had all those crazy things.
Yes, you are very
Even when I
practical.
had when I had those
And you are very straight. And even in communicating, I think a lot of people are attracted to that. We need to hear some of the things that we need to hear and not just be patted on the back and where it doesn't get us where we're trying to get to.
yes.
But I know in the midst of all of this, you also are very creative. You've created music that is available. Was that something? First of all, where can people find your music? Is it on your website or on your YouTube channel? I
Yes,
believe.
if you go, some of it is on the YouTube channel, Healing Body and Mind with Jaya. You can go on my website, and there will be a code where you can download the music.
And did that also come after as
Yes.
as you were doing the healing work? Or
As I began doing the healing work, I do a lot, when I teach healing, I do a lot of breath and movement, extreme grounding and centering. I teach you how to make your hands very sensitive. And within that, I use modern and ancient music to kind of create what I call a cosmic dance. I have a DVD and 5 CDs. The CDs you can download. They teach you, they're all about the work. One takes you through a healing, hands-on healing through a complete healing. The other is ignite your that's Jaya Reiki hands with Jaya, excuse me. The other one is ignite your creative fire with Sakeem. That's Tibetan work. Within the CD, I'm teaching you how to cut the emotional ties, how to ground, and there's several others, meditation and.
So, Jaya, we're out of time for this segment. However, there's more for us to discuss. So, we are going to have a second segment. And this segment, I think it's also more for even people to get to know more about the work that you do and also how we've collaborated in the past and probably will continue forever. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode and you really need to check out the next episode that we will be doing. Jaya, thank you so much.
Thank you, Weam.